Hundreds of troops took part in their first full rehearsal for the King's coronation in the early hours of this morning. Troopers and officers from the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment, joined by soldiers lining the street, paraded through the quiet roads of central London with carriages standing in for the glittering state coaches that will take the monarch and Queen Camilla to and from Westminster Abbey on May 6. Some of the Knightsbridge-based cavalry soldiers had taken part in a rehearsal down the Mall earlier on Monday, but in the second rehearsal in the early hours they covered the entire route from Buckingham Palace to the Abbey via Admiralty Arch, Trafalgar Square, Whitehall and Parliament Square and back again. Around 200 members of the Mounted Regiment will form the Sovereign's escort accompanying the royal couple on the ceremonial route to the Abbey on the morning of the coronation. They will be part of a much bigger contingent, 5,000 strong, in the coronation procession heading back the other way after the ceremony alongside the newly crowned King and Queen. It will be the largest military ceremonial operation in central London in 70 years. Altogether, more than 6,000 men and women of the UK's armed forces will take part in the historic royal event. The coronation procession back to the palace will still stretch 1.3 miles. But that will be around a quarter of the length of the late Queen's 5-mile celebratory journey, which went through Piccadilly, Oxford Street, and Regent Street. Her grand procession in 1953 took 2 hours and featured tens of thousands of participants, with the 2.5-mile cavalcade taking 45 minutes to pass any given point. For King Charles's coronation, more than 60 aircraft from the Royal Navy, Army, and Royal Air Force will take part in a flypast over the Mall, watched by the royal family on the Buckingham Palace balcony. There will also be military gun salutes in all corners of the United Kingdom to herald the moment the King is crowned. Featuring more than 400 personnel, across 13 locations and deployed Royal Navy ships, 21 rounds will fire to mark the coronation, with the exception of the Tower of London and Horse Guards Parade, where a 62-round salute and a 6-gun salvo will fire respectively. Nearly 400 armed forces personnel from at least 35 Commonwealth countries will also be on parade to mark the historic moment. Admiral Sir Tony Raydogan, Chief of the Defence Staff, said, "The contribution of the armed forces to the coronation symbolises unyielding service to king and country. It reflects centuries of tradition, but is indicative of the integral role the armed forces play in modern Britain and the extraordinary ways we support the nation, whether deterring aggression and maintaining stability worldwide or strengthening our domestic resilience and prosperity." All three services are rehearsing separately at the moment, but they will come together for a tri-service rehearsal at RAF Odeum in Hampshire before the big day. The King and other members of the royal family have been using the Buckingham Palace ballroom to rehearse their parts in the ceremony, while palace staff have been engaged in intensive preparations for the weekend of events. Calligraphers have been carefully putting the finishing touches to the personalized invitations for the coronation. Images released on the royal family's official social media accounts show the names of recipients being transcribed by hand in ink on the large, intricately decorated invitations for the May 6 ceremony. Among the invites pictured on the royal family's Instagram account was one for Max Woozy, dubbed the Boy in the Tent, who raised more than £750,000 for North Devon Hospice by camping in his garden for 3 years. His invitation was jointly addressed to his father Mark, who is accompanying him. A small team from London Scribes Calligraphers, which has worked for the royal household for more than 15 years, is writing the invitations by hand using traditional italic dip pens and bespoke mixed inks. London Scribes Calligraphers Studio was first established in 1992 by Craig Poland Smith, with a focus on traditional italic calligraphy for events. The ink, made from gouache paints, was mixed by hand to perfectly match the printing and is the only batch that will be made. The Green Man, an ancient figure from British folklore symbolic of spring and rebirth, is the inspiration behind the overall design of the King's Coronation invitation. His head features as the central motif in the artwork on Rucky Cold Card.
From above, now take